Welcome back from that short break. In case you're just joining us, this is the News International Edition, and we're coming to you live from our Vision Group headquarters here in Kampala, Uganda. And now from Ukraine, a video published by the State Emergency Service shows firefighters putting out a fire at a residential building in Lviv. Mayor Andriy Sadoyi said several missiles had been downed but confirmed widespread damage to dozens of buildings and said 4 people were injured. Meanwhile, President Volodymyr Zelensky paid a visit to troops in the front line in the region of Donetsk.
There was a hit in Lviv, and Mayor Andriy Sadoyi said more than 100 apartments were damaged and that a kindergarten was destroyed after a missile flew into its yard. A supermarket ceiling collapsed due to falling missile fragments, Regional Governor Maxim Kortsky added. Lviv has mostly been spared the daily bombardments that have hit other parts of Ukraine. Last month, 10 people were killed in what Sadoyi said was the biggest Russian missile attack on the city's civilian infrastructure since the invasion. 2 hours ago, the play area of a kindergarten was standing here. A missile directly targeted this area. Now there is a 9-meter deep crater, 20 meters in diameter. There is even a fragment of the missile there. The building in the play area was destroyed. The upper floors were damaged, windows were smashed, but thank God there was no casualties. There is the most important thing. The kindergarten was also damaged, all the windows were smashed. Russian missiles killed 3 people in the Ukrainian city of Lutsk early Tuesday, the latest deadly strike on the west of the country, suffering an uptick in aerial attacks. The bombardment of nearly 3 dozen missiles also tore through a playground in Lviv, western Ukraine's largest city, and sparked a blaze that left a 5-story residential charred and its windows burnt out. The barrage of several types of missiles came as Russia's defense ministry said during a military expo in Moscow that Ukraine was running low on military resources, with Kyiv posting slow battlefield progress. Lutsk Mayor Igor Polishchuk announced the death toll on social media and said emergency services were searching for survivors. They later said they had pulled a victim from the debris alive. The regional governor Yuri Pogulyanko said air defense forces had repelled overnight airstrikes but confirmed 1 missile hit an industrial facility in Lutsk. The town had a pre-war population of over 200,000 and is less than 100 kilometers from Ukraine's border with Poland. Fatal Russian strikes in western Ukraine are sporadic. In March last year, 4 Ukrainian soldiers were killed and 6 wounded in Russian strikes on the Lutsk military airport. But they have increased in recent weeks, and journalists in the western region of Ivano-Frankivsk this week witnessed family members bury an 8-year-old boy killed by Russian cruise missiles targeting a western air base last week. UNESCO said it was the first to take place in an area protected by the World Heritage Convention and had damaged a historic building. The Ukrainian Air Force said Russia fired a total of 28 missiles from both Russia territory and warships on the Black Sea. It said it downed 16. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu made his assessment of Ukraine's fighting capacity during a security conference in Moscow, from which Western firms were excluded. On the front line, the Ukrainian military said on Monday it had pushed Russian forces out of pockets of territory in the east and south of the country, building on a grueling counteroffensive launched 2 months ago. Kyiv has acknowledged that progress against heavily fortified Russian positions has been slow and said it had gained only a clutch of land around the war-battered city of Bakhmut last week. The gains came as Russia claimed its forces had progressed in the eastern Kharkiv region, undermining Kyiv's highly anticipated campaign. Ukraine kicked off its counteroffensive against Russian forces in June after building up assault battalions and stockpiling Western-donated weapons. Meanwhile, Ukrainian presidency images purport to show President Volodymyr Zelensky visiting troops in the frontline region of Donetsk, where Kyiv has been painstakingly clawing back territory from Russian forces around the war-battered city of Bakhmut. Images of him purportedly visiting troops from the 22nd Separate Mechanized Brigade, then from the 5th Separate Assault Brigade.
And finally, from India, rescuers on Tuesday searched for people feared to be missing in floods and landslides that have killed at least 65 people in India, including 11 who died in the collapse of a popular temple. At least 52 people have been killed in Himachal Pradesh since Sunday, with thousands more stranded after disruptions to roads, power lines and communication networks. Days of torrential downpours have washed away vehicles, demolished buildings, and destroyed bridges in the Himalayas. Flooding and landslides are common and cause widespread devastation during India's treacherous monsoon season, but experts say climate change is increasing their frequency and severity. The suffering of those affected cannot be relieved with money, but the government will provide all possible help to them in this hour of distress, State Chief Minister Singh Suku said in a statement on Tuesday. Suku said earlier that up to 20 others were feared trapped under rubble after landslides and appealed to residents to stay indoors and avoid going near rivers. Images from hard-hit areas in Himachal Pradesh showed bodies being pulled from piles of dark earth that had crushed buildings and smashed roofs. At least 11 people died when a landslide triggered the collapse of a popular temple by the Hindu deity Shiva in the state capital, Shimla. Elsewhere in the state, railway lines were seen dangling in mid-air after the ground beneath them was washed away. Suku said the disaster was the worst to hit Himachal Pradesh in the past 50 years, adding that state authorities had scaled down Tuesday's annual celebrations of Independence Day, marking the end of British colonial rule, to concentrate on rescue efforts. At least 16 more people have also been killed since Friday in neighboring Uttarakhand state, officials said on Tuesday. Rescue teams there raced to remove debris after people were feared buried when heavy rainfall triggered the landslides. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, speaking from the Red Fort in New Delhi for his annual Independence Day address, said that the recent natural disaster had caused unimaginable troubles for families across the country. Several riverside towns and villages in both states were at risk of flash floods from the heavy rainforest. The monsoon brings South Asia around 80% of its annual rainfall and is vital for both agriculture and the livelihoods of millions, but also brings destruction every year in the form of landslides and floods. Days of relentless monsoon rains killed at least 90 people last month, while the capital, New Delhi, saw the Yamuna River, which snakes past the megacity, record its heaviest levels since 1978. Forecasters expect heavy rains to continue across the Indian Himalayas until at least Friday. And that's all the international news we had for you this afternoon. We'll be back again tomorrow at 4 p.m. Thank you for watching and do have yourselves a splendid afternoon.